So what made you want to come on board Strange New Worlds?
The team. I mean, it's Star Trek, so I think that for a lot of makeup artists and people working in the film industry, that I remember even when I was in school taking prosthetics, a couple of friends of mine, students in the class, were like, oh, they're shooting a Star Trek in Vancouver, and I have a connection at one of the shops, so maybe we could all move there and rent a room together and like just sleep on the couch and on the floor, and then we can just like sweep up the shop for them in the prosthetic shop. So we were saying that too. I was like, I would do that to work on Star Trek. We were saying that while we were in school. So it was very cool, like a very full circle moment. First of all, when they started filming Star Trek Discovery in Toronto. I'm from Toronto. And I got asked to, I think I was like 23, 24, kind of starting out in the industry. And I got asked to join the team that would remove the prosthetics at the end of the day on the Klingons, like the first episode of season 1 of Discovery. And I was like, I made it. Like, not actually, because I could see all of the artists that they had that applied the makeups that are people that I had been looking up to. Of course, James Buchanan was the department head, and then people like the Machaches were there. I mean, so, like, yeah, I mean, every single person there was like, I knew their name. So that was really cool. And then when it came to Strange New Worlds, season 2, my very dear friend Olga Kirnos was the department head on it. She still is the department head on the show, and so I was like, of course, I want to work with you on an iconic show like this, and we had so much fun.
What was the most fun and/or challenging makeup for you from season 2?
I was just doing a podcast, and they asked a similar question, and I said, honestly, like every single episode on that show is one of the best shows that I've ever worked on. Every single episode is a strange new world and a new adventure and new possibilities when it came to the makeup. So I felt like every day at work was so creatively fulfilling. But to name a couple of specific ones, I got to do so much cool stuff with Jess. Jess is, she's one of the cast that I did throughout the season. And in the first episode, we had this fight that we were tracking, and so she got into this huge Klingon battle. And so she had all of these like little cuts on her. Some are bleeding, and they're getting like smudged, and she's getting tossed around. And then of course we never like film it in order or film it, of course, on the same day. It's all happening through multiple days. But she then got launched into space, came back onto the ship. She's all frozen now, so it's the same makeup design but completely frozen. So that was a lot of fun and a nice challenge. And then after that, we see her in the sick bay, and she's like starting to heal a little bit. So all of the cuts and little nicks are in the same place, but it's like slightly different. That was really cool. And then Yoshidi Badaki's makeup, like with the winged eyeliner. Yeah.
I actually like the Nurse Chapel things because obviously I love the big creatures. They're fun. But that wasn't a major character thing because she was traumatized by it. You were actually giving her a real world thing. So when you're thinking about making makeup, we got to make it real for the character because this is actually something any one of us could relate to.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is such a huge part of the makeup artist's job. It's not just for the audience and for the screen, but really helping the actors. Like they say this all the time. They look into the mirror and they're like, oh, now I'm the character, or like, oh, that, like sometimes they'll zone out when you're doing a makeup like that, like an injury makeup like that, and they're like, ooh, like then they've like tricked their minds into thinking that they're actually hurt, and they're like sensitive to like you putting the brush there. They're like, oh, I'm injured. So I think that it really does help them. It's definitely very much a part of the process for them.
Okay, I asked the same question of Christina, Ethan, and Melissa. What was your initial reaction when you found out they were going to do a musical episode where the Star Trek characters would be singing?
Just wanted... That was so much fun. Thank you for reminding me. That was like unbelievable. Because we were listening to so they all went, and sometimes we would hear them like rehearsing and practicing in their trailers. But we got to hear the songs recorded once we got to set, and so we're all just like sitting on set watching the monitor and like hearing their voices. It was just so funny because we never, I don't know, like, yeah, we just had never heard them sing before, so it was funny to be listening to their voices and just like seeing them dance, and especially Spock because of his character. Like it was just so fun and like happy.
But also very dramatic. The songs weren't just fluff.
Right.
You know, they were,
yeah.
because Garcia's going through a lot, you know,
Yes,
Lon's
yeah.
going through a lot, Spock, and so was that kind of like, you're actually very
Yeah,
dramatic.
very emotional. Yeah. I'm trying to remember now the episode, but yeah, and what is sticking out to me was the Klingon like boy band song. That was fun.
All right, so our last question, so what's been your favorite makeup creature, alien, to work on?
I haven't done so much of that. I'm more typically in the straight makeup department, but I got to work on part of a team under Chris Bridges, who is actually the prosthetic designer on Strange New Worlds as well. But I got to work on his team during a show called The Lost Symbol. And we had a character where he was fully tattooed, head to toe, and like he was wearing varying levels of costume. So sometimes we'd see more skin, and there were like 5 artists sometimes all working on him, and it was like a mathematical equation, like it was like physics, mapping it out around the curves of his body, and getting that all to be one cohesive tattoo. That was a really cool. I remember working on that, and I was like, this is so cool that I get to be a part of this.
It sounds like Star Trek is something where every week is different. It's not like, oh, you've learned something new. It's not something I'm just settling into what I'm going to do, and it's a 20. You know, I'll do it for a few seasons.
Yeah,
it seems like
thinking
every
about
week
the
you have to
next
totally reinvent the
episode.
way you approach makeup.
Absolutely, yes. And I did get to do like assist on a Klingon makeup on Discovery, so that was pretty epic. Yeah.
Wylde Pack.
Yes, Wylde Pack.
All right, so what made you want to come on board?
For Wylde Pack?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just love working with Nickelodeon. We had been building a relationship with the music team for quite some time, so having an opportunity like this from the same people that we had already, enjoyed doing business with was amazing. Meeting Paul and Kyle, the creators of Wylde Pack, and seeing how they applied their own life story into the show. The show is about their families, obviously fictionalized, but seeing creators want to prioritize diversity both on screen and off screen was super important. And then obviously just them giving us a shot to do all the music top to bottom in the show, that was obviously a dream come true and a really special opportunity, so it's hard to say now.
So obviously the pilot's always a challenging one. They're doing the first one to set the tone.
Yeah.
I did like when the monkey stole the camera.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah,
I love this, Matt. Thank you.
No, I like because it sets a tone.
Yeah,
it gives
it
the tone,
does.
the family dynamic.
It does,
The what was the process of kind of like setting the tone for it musically?
Well, I worked with my team, Lion Child. Everyone on the squad all has a super diverse background musically. We predominantly all work with modern music artists. All of us are constantly working on music for artists that are currently performing across every genre. So being able to bridge kind of the gap between all of our backgrounds to create something unique for the pilot and then ultimately the rest of the show was kind of how we set the tone. Also, the creators had an idea of what they wanted. So it was really about executing their vision and what they had already imagined that they wanted for the show.
So diversity behind the scenes with the music and on screen must have helped kind of make the music more interesting. Because you have so many different styles of music kind of blending together.
Yeah, 100%. Also, like if you meet our team, obviously like I'm a Filipino American from LA. Natalia on Lion Child, she's Italian but grew up in Switzerland. Lance is an African American guy from Detroit, and Rachel is from Canada. So just all of our if you just look at us, we're super diverse. And then obviously all of us, we all listen to different types of music. We all work across different types of music. So it's kind of impossible to not make something sound unique or to not make something that has a little bit of everything.
We have a lot of students in the audience, so I want you to assign them a little
Okay.
homework. Is there any special moment or sequence you really liked in the study, like you're really proud of? It could be a quiet moment of music, but something you're really proud of that they should look at.
On the show?
On the show,
or-
on the show.
Oh
Like,
my
the scene I
gosh.
really loved, or a sequence.
There's so much. I'd say watch the Lake World episode. There's a lot going on in that one. I mean, there's about 70 cues of music in every episode, and there's 52 mini episodes. So it's kind of, if you just take the time to even watch the first two, you'll see how kind of chaotic it is. But I mean, every style of music is in every single episode. But I'd say like my favorite one are probably, the Lake World episode, and then, God, there's so many. Anything that has Ellie from Raven's Club, because she's great.
Now, you're talking about different backgrounds mixing together. Your college background, undergrad, was slightly different than music.
Yeah.
So could you talk about how you went from where you started and how you got to here? What was it, or how did it help you doing aeronautics as a major?
Aerospace.
Aerospace, sorry.
Yeah. So wait, first question, how did I get here? I grew up listening to all kinds of music. I thank my mom for really blessing me with, all the greats, all the legends. My favorite band of all times, Earth, Wind & Fire.
Oh, wow.
I grew up listening to Boyz II Men, Mariah Carey. You'll always catch me listening to Mariah Carey, and just anything that came out of Motown, anything that came out of LaFace. Island Def Jam's my favorite label. And then I also grew up in the early 2000s where pop rock was really huge, and I started to learn to play guitar. So, I mean, I also had a huge rock moment at the same time. So just always being infatuated with what I was listening to, pop culture. I would always watch documentaries that had behind the scenes executives, but I never saw a woman in any of them in the 90s and early 2000s. So I didn't know women could have careers in entertainment. I didn't know women like me could have careers in entertainment. So I didn't really choose to pursue that. I did what I was really good at, which was rocket science. And once I kind of, got a job offer right when I turned 18, I wanted to do something for myself. And so I got an internship, and I just started showing up to events and hoped people would like me. I just started networking, and the moment I could, I just quit my job as an engineer and went full speed in music.
That's what I tell students, talent and networking. If you have both, you'll find a way.
It's everything, yeah. I forgot the second part of your question, my bad.
Oh, how do you think, the science element, how does that help you musically?
I think it's more of the way engineers think.
That's what I was thinking.
Just breaking down processes into small parts. I think for me also just being extremely detail oriented, for better or for worse, especially working with talent, high profile talent. It's so important that you don't let anything slip through the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
Also, when you're representing talent and you're invoicing and collecting money on behalf of other people, it's super important that you don't let money slip through the cracks. Nothing gets past me, truly. And I think that's because of my engineering background.
So we're going to talk a little Thomas.
Yes.
So what was it initially that made you want to come on board?
I tried really hard to get on board. It was a tough competition. I was demoing against a lot of amazing other composers. So.
What was your, so for you, how was it kind of evolving the music throughout the whole entire multiple episodes, not just coming out from one?
Well, to be clear, the way that we did it was I created what we call a library of cues, and I have a music editor, and the music editor will reuse some cues from past episodes. So I had to make extra sure that every cue was just amazing, so there's a lot of extra pressure there on each piece. You can't just be oh, it's only in this side transition, no one's gonna see it ever again and no one's paying attention. It's that piece, that cue could show up 20 more times later on, so you have to be really, really sure that it's the best.
It's interesting with kids, I notice, when you have a kids audience, they're actually very sharp audience.
Oh, for
they
sure.
They know if something's off, the music's off, or there's something a
Yeah.
little off. They can tell even more than I think adults sometimes.
Yeah. And I also don't, I don't write
as if I'm writing for kids, because what's the fun in that? Like it's just it's the same story that's whether it's for kids or adults in the music. So it's
Now, you also did Ghostwriter?
yes.
Yeah, so how did you approach that differently than, let's say, Thomas?
Well, that one was interesting because it was a lot more fantasy. There's a lot more fantasy elements. There was magical things happening, and the audience was a little bit older, so we could go a little bit more intense and scary, but not too scary. So that is one thing that with kids content, you don't want to be, making them run into the next room and run away from the TV. So, yeah.
And last question, I noticed online that you teach.
I do.
How
yes.
does that? How do you feel as a teacher? Does it actually help you as an artist? We kind of like
Yeah.
creative, but it's like, what is the learning process for you when you get to teach?
Well, because I go through, foundational ways in which we tend to compose and approach a scene, and I'm constantly looking for new examples of things to show them, and then in turn, it makes me a better composer. I can formulate, my sort of approaches in a new, entertaining way every year, and I get to see what they're into nowadays, and it turns out they're all into video games, so, I don't know. It's funny, the way that media is being consumed is a lot different than when we were young.
All right, so we're going to talk about Meandering Scars.
Yes.
It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
One that, I didn't know much about, and I was riveted by it. What drew you to the story?
So many things. I'll start by telling you how I found the story. So when my business partner and friend Cody and I decided that we were going to start a documentary company, we didn't know exactly what our first film was going to be. So we just knew we wanted to tell social impact stories, very often focusing on the disability community, because I'm an advocate for that community. So fast forward to 2020, we start our company, and again, we didn't know what we were going to start off with. So we ended up thinking, we're both millennial journalists. What do we do best? We tell stories and we create content. That horrific word that we don't like, but we can create stories that we share, sort of the way we did in news, and put it on our YouTube page and social media, so we can get out there the types of stories we want to tell and show people how we tell them, and also maybe find the documentary along the way. And that's literally what happened. So one of our first series we were going to do was highlighting people with disabilities making an impact in the fitness industry.
Oh.
And so we were introduced to all these various people, Paralympians, people with disabilities making an impact in the weightlifting industry. And I was introduced to Erica Bogan, who is the subject of our documentary. I was introduced to her as a Spartan and CrossFit athlete. And so we're chatting, doing a pre-interview for this series we were going to do. And at the very end of the interview, when we were about to sign off, she mentions, oh, by the way, I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I was like, excuse me, lady, way to bury the lead, And so then she tells me my reason for doing this is because I struggled with mental health my whole life, since paralysis. And I've had suicidal ideation, and I've had many friends with disabilities die by suicide. And I'm doing this to spread awareness about suicide and mental health struggles in the disability community. And honestly, when she said that was for me the hook. It was like, of course it's cool that she's climbing this mountain,
Of
but
course.
that was the sort of, wow, I need to be involved in this story. And so then I called Cody, and the next thing you know, we're creating a documentary.
It must have been a very unique experience for the team climbing a mountain together.
Oh, it was quite an experience. I mean, already climbing a mountain, I think, is, on its own a difficult feat. But having to do that with camera equipment and filming and, preparing and directing a story, I mean, it was unbelievable. I say that it was the most difficult physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done. All of those things in my life. Because it really just challenges you in every way.
Well, you're also covering very important topics, domestic violence, and the suicidality, which I was not aware of.
Yeah.
How was the process of you researching all that and learning about all this stuff?
So really interesting. When we decided we were going to tell this story and create this documentary, we wanted to have a component. We wanted to talk to someone who is a researcher in this realm. So someone who focuses on disability and suicide and mental health. We couldn't find anyone. We called every big suicide disability nonprofit, for-profit. Nobody had anyone at the intersection of this. So we kept searching. Finally, we find this research paper from the UK printed in like the late 80s. And Cody and I are like, okay, let's just reach out to these people and see if they know anybody or like if they're still doing that research. So we send an email to every researcher who was listed on the sheet. We heard back from one person who says, I'm not doing this anymore, but there's actually a woman in the US who you should talk to. She works at Ohio State. And he pointed us in the direction of the only woman in the country who researches at the intersection of suicide and disability. And she herself is disabled. She works at Ohio State University. And we use her as a voice throughout the film. She is really, you see what Erica's experiencing, and Lauren, her name is Dr. Lauren Chasm. She is really that like expert component of, what Erica's experiencing is not just a one-off. Like, this is a real thing that other people go through.
What was about the show that made you want to come on board?
Well, I'd actually been part of Wondla since 2018 when we optioned the book. I was super, super fortunate to be able to see it go all the way from development to the very, very final mix. And it's just been an exciting ride.
So I noticed you got to co-write a screenplay, one of the episodes?
Yes, so I wrote I wrote one of the episodes for season 1, and then some episodes down the road as well. But because I was the creative director on the show, I actually got to touch every single script. I did the dialogue polish for every single script. So the last kind of like person to touch the script was me, but very much like it was a collaboration with the two head writers, Bob and Christian, who were absolutely like foundational to the seasons.
What did you enjoy most about developing the story throughout the whole entire course of the show?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think that it really was about the evolution of the characters. Tony DiTerlizzi had created such a rich and incredible world with these books and the arcs that were in the books, and to be able to take what he had done and be able to, adapt it for the screen was really, really just an incredible experience. But even more so was to like see the way that the characters like told you what they needed for the seasons coming up. So getting to really like craft their stories and watch them evolve and find that final like kind of symphony where everything comes together, like that's something that's I'll always remember, really special.
I'm a big fan of the music, and your composer.
Yes, Joy. Joy is the best.
I've interviewed. So we're working with Joy. How do you think the music has enhanced the show throughout
Oh my
the
gosh,
season?
I mean, Wondla wouldn't be Wondla without Joy. Like, her music has been absolutely like integral to just the tone of the show. She was in all the mixes as well, like, and just being able to see the way in which the music just makes everything come to life. It just truly like makes the show sing, like, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to your origin days.
Yeah.
When did you know you wanted to become a makeup artist?
I was never sure I wanted to be a makeup artist. I started in theater and wanted to get into filmmaking. My mom was a high school theater teacher, so I was always breaking into her makeup cabinet and playing with fake blood and all that stuff. And so when I went to college, I studied film, and every student film has a zombie or someone getting shot in it. So I just kind of found my place doing makeup on other people's sets. And then I moved out to LA and then decided I wanted to keep pursuing that, keep working on set, and went to cinema makeup school.
Yeah. So how did that change your professional life?
I think it helped because I learned a lot more skills in terms of like the technical aspects of makeup and that sort of thing, and how important makeup is for character in film. And it opened a lot of doors to me in LA. I made a lot of friends at makeup school, and then through makeup school, I got to go to do Grinchmas at Universal Studios, doing all the theme park makeups, and some of my best friends are still from there. We like went to each other's weddings and everything. So
We do have a lot of students in the audience, so they're always wondering, okay, I have the training. What was your first gig, professional gig? How did you go about getting your first professional gig?
my first professional gig, I think it was before makeup school, actually,
Oh.
in Boston, because I was going to Emerson College. And it was, I'm probably dating myself, but it was around the time of the Da Vinci Code had just come out. And there was someone wanting to do a parody of the Da Vinci Code. So they hired me for $100, which I thought was the best thing in the world. And I got to do some fun, creative makeups, like carve some skin, like how they do in that movie. And I think there's like a scene where there's whipping, but they did something with a fly swatter as a gag. So trying to come up with like making a red fly swatter back image, like that was really fun. So yeah, that was my first paying gig, I would say. But yeah, just out here is just music videos, theme parks, kind of starting small and slowly building up your resume and your pour and who you know out in LA, and that's kind of the big thing.
So would you recommend for the younger students, make sure you do different genres, don't pigeonhole yourself.
Don't pigeonhole
Because
yourself
you might be
at
better in a genre you didn't even think of.
Totally. Yeah, when I went to makeup school, I was not interested in beauty makeup at all. I was all about zombies, aliens, monsters, all that fun sort of stuff. So I took the rest of it just so I would know, but you know, you get hired for so many different things. And with something like The Rehearsal, there is like natural beauty, there's glam looks, we're doing bald caps and prosthetics for certain episodes. So, you know, knowing everything is the best way to go. Because yeah, you might end up just being really good at one certain thing, and then that becomes your bread and butter. Like tattoo covers, I feel like I do that all the time. Like I've done that for so many shows, and it's really fun.
What made you want to join the Muslim Public Affairs Council?
Oh, a midlife crisis, Matt. I was a banker, I was in corporate America, and I was feeling like I wasn't making a difference in the world, and so I, 25 years ago, transitioned from corporate to nonprofit and worked for a community advocacy organization.
Okay, so then today, Muslim representation in film and TV.
Yeah.
How do you think the trend is going? Is it improving, or what work needs to be done?
First of all, the work will never be done.
Right.
It's a journey. It is getting a little bit better. We are experiencing you know, a little bit of a setback because number one, the industry is kind of contracting.
Yeah.
And number two, the administration and, you know, the whole DEI programs and cutting them. And number three, I think the industry right now is everybody's afraid to do important work almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we're feeling right now.
One
Yeah.
of the problems I have, because I teach students,
Yeah.
one of the things I've learned teaching students, if they don't see their faces represented
Right.
in the artist
Right.
or their stories, subconsciously they don't want to go into the field. That's my biggest concern. 'cause
That's interesting,
When they don't
yeah.
see it, it's not even like, oh, I don't see my face. They just don't think about it as possible
Right.
and just avoid it.
Right.
What is one way you think we can encourage high schools and college students who feel like they're in a group that's not represented well to pursue a career in storytelling?
Right. I think the paradigm has to change. I know the industry maybe wasn't built with emerging communities in mind, but it also wasn't built to keep us out either.
Right.
And so they have to see them. By them seeing themselves not included,
Right.
is a signal to them that they need to go dive in and do the work and change that. It's generational. It's not a one person, two person, you know, from each community. It's all hands on deck. So ignore the fact that you don't see yourself. Not ignore it, but just make the fact that you don't see yourself the impetus to do this work.
All right, so you just came off moderating a wonderful panel.
Yes.
What was your? How do you prepare to moderate a panel?
How do I prepare? I make sure that I try to watch the work of the panelist as well, and then from there, when I look at the questions that are sent to me, or if I'm making them myself, I make sure that they're personal. I don't want to say something that doesn't feel like me or something that I don't want to know. So then that way, when I'm ready to have a follow-up question, I want to make sure I'm engaged in what is being said.
Now, one of the challenges when you have multiple people on the panel is giving them each time to shine and balancing. How do you approach balancing a larger panel?
Well, you always try to make sure that you have some questions for everyone and some individual questions. And I think, especially with a panel of women, people are always going to be respectful of each other and each other's time, so it never feels difficult with them.
As an artist yourself, do you feel you learn a lot when you do these panels? And it would apply to your own art?
I'm trying to stop myself from crying the entire time. I'm like, wait, can I just write this down for me for a second? It's just, yeah, every time. It's so beneficial just hearing people say their stories of where they got to where they got, and everybody saying the same thing of just keep pushing forward even when it's difficult. If this is what you love, you are meant to be here.
Yeah, and a question about Not Your Daddy's Films.
Yes.
I love it. Women and non-binary artists who get the shines of work. What do you think the challenges are now for us in today's climate to kind of make sure all these voices are heard?
I mean, the challenges, I would say, are unfortunately still endless, but I think what's making a difference is the fact that we have the comfortability to have the space that we have and to have this organization, and the fact that people are coming and want to know more. I think that's what we focus on. Not what's holding us back, but all that we can do to keep growing and build forward.
And you're building a filmmaking network.
Yeah.
Artists help each other. It doesn't matter who they are, it's just a way of connecting them together.
Yes, I mean, truly, everybody is welcome to come. It's beneficial for us. I'm pointing to my co-founder, Carly, but it's beneficial for us. It's beneficial for everyone who's there, and you can network across the line. You can network up. It is just such a wonderful community.